Hello, fellow Americans. I'm coming to you from room 111 here at Clintondale Middle School in a special edition because I'm shooting this video during first hour. So first hour students are in the background and they're listening to me shoot this video. The first thing I want to talk about for the Chapter 12 test is Washington's farewell address, which is a very important thing because it is not only on your test today, but it's on the midterm exam. And the two things that Washington really encouraged when he left office is, one, to not divide ourselves into political parties, which we did, and the other thing is to not get involved with permanent foreign alliances. He wanted a foreign policy that was isolationist and neutral, and that way we would stay out of trouble with other countries. But as you know, things like that were hard to do, especially because the United States had such a propensity to want to trade. And when our ships went overseas, we then had to deal with other countries. And when we had to deal with other countries, sometimes we had to get involved in their problems. And getting involved in their problems, led to things like the XYZ affair, when the French wanted to get a bribe for us to leave their ships alone. And basically, we said millions for defense, but not a cent for tribute. And what this means is we will spend money to defend ourselves, but we are not going to pay you to leave us alone. One of the things that was going on during this time is Britain and France were constantly at war. And we were doing our best to make as much money as we could off this. I mean, everybody loves money. You know what I'm saying? So we're trying to make money by selling things to Britain, which is making the French mad, and we're trying to sell things to France, which is making the British mad. So both Britain and France started to raid our ships so they would stop us from resupplying their enemy. So this was a huge aspect to how we ended up getting involved with, first of all, the embargo, and then the War of 1812. Now, the embargo was put on by Jefferson, the embargo of 1808, and the embargo basically said that we weren't going to trade with other countries. Well, if we weren't going to trade with other countries, that was going to cause us to lose money. And so the people who were most angry and most just totally hot over this subject was American sailors and sea captains and seamen that were, not allowed to sell their goods in foreign countries, which brings us to, we started to then again trade in, 1810, 1813, and the British started to impress our sailors. Now, the British were impressing our sailors, and this was because many British sailors jumped off British ships to work on our ships because our ships, they could make more money. It was a better situation for them. And then they would get recaptured and taken on to British ships. So that was the British's justification for impressing our sailors, is that those people were British anyway. They were deserters. So all this drama with the British brings me to one of my favorite subjects, which is the War of 1812. And in the War of 1812, we had these congressmen like Henry Clay, and they were looking at the West as America's future because Henry Clay's from Kentucky, which is in the West. And so one of the things that they wanted to do was drive the British out of Canada, which would make our westward expansion easier. So the Warhawks, the congressmen that wanted war, they wanted Canada, not really for Canada as much as they wanted the British out of our backyard so we would have a place to expand to. One of the next most important things that I want to talk about is the Battle at New Orleans. And the Battle at New Orleans was a super awesome victory for the United States. One of the coolest things about the Battle of New Orleans, it took place after the war was over. Now, why is that? Well, there was no Twitter back then. There was no hashtag world's over. It just was over, and it took 3 weeks for the treaty to get taken by ship across the ocean. They didn't even have a telephone. So they fight the battle. The United States wins, losing less than 100 men. The British lose like 2,000 men. And it was a great victory for the Americans in the War of 1812. So there really wasn't very many Americans that got killed in this battle. The last thing I want to talk about is the Monroe Doctrine. And basically, the Monroe Doctrine makes us the policemen of the Western Hemisphere. In 1823, different countries were trying to, get their own independence. And countries in Spain and other countries in Europe were going to come back over here and get them back as their colony. And we said, no, we're the policemen of North America. If you mess with these new little countries, you're going to mess with the United States. And that kind of set us away from Washington's policy of isolationism and neutrality and kind of made us what is essentially the policemen of the Western Hemisphere, because we were going to stand up for these new nations that were emerging in Central America. Without any further talk on this, make sure that you have your concept map completed, make sure that your packet is completed, and make sure that you're ready for this test. Merry Christmas, God bless you, and God bless America.